Hey, this is Matt with Mountain Stream Teas, and this is a quick video in the What Is series. And this one is, what is Red Oolong? So right in front of me here, I've got some Red Oolong. Now this one is a tea that we have on the site. This one is called the number 20, 2016 number 20 charcoal roasted Red Oolong. Now, this one is a little bit of a complicated tea. And the reason I chose it was because I wanted to sort of describe what makes a red tea and what doesn't make a red tea. So when you're talking about red oolongs, what you're talking about is a tea that has been oxidized a lot. Now, what does that mean? If you're not familiar with the oxidization process, then go back to the Welcome to Gong Fu Cha series number 1, and in there is the apple metaphor. Now, the apple metaphor describes it pretty well. But assuming you've already seen that, what you're looking at, a red oolong is something that has been oxidized anywhere from about 70% to about 85%. Now, anything more than that is usually considered a black tea, but the red oolongs are sort of oxidized in that area. Now, in Mandarin, what they use for the red oolong is Hong Oolong, right? So Hong is red oolong. Now, for black teas, they actually use the term Hong Cha, which is red tea. And you can see behind me, I don't know if you can pick it up there, but there's an F-16 flying over my head. I'm on the beach today. But when you're talking about a red oolong, you're talking about only the oxidization levels. Only the oxidization levels. It has nothing to do with the roast. It has nothing to do with the way that if it's a ball rolled or not a ball rolled. It has nothing to do with any of those things. It has only, the moniker comes from only the oxidization levels. And like I said, it would be from maybe 75 to 85%. I mean, you could push it down to 70%, maybe, something like that. But that's what makes the red oolong. And as you can see, oftentimes with the red oolongs, you do get a beautiful red color coming from them in the broth. Now, why would you do that? Right? High mountain oolongs, the Baozong oolongs, oolongs like that, they're oftentimes very lightly oxidized. They're greenish, and the liqueurs are much more golden. Why don't we say golden oolongs or something like that? Well, the reason is because red oolongs are relatively new, right? I guess they've always sort of been made, but it's only in the last 10, 15 years where they become sort of a class of their own, where people make them quite often. What are the taste characteristics of a red oolong? Well, imagine taking the bright greenish fruit, sort of sometimes you get peach, sometimes you get, pear, the flavors of a greenish high mountain oolong, or the beautiful creamy florals and touch of fruit that you would get from a Baozong. And then maturing them. So the flavors you're getting from red oolongs, generally speaking, are deep red fruit flavors. So cherry flavors, and sort of, again, you can get some oxidized apple flavors as well, sort of the brownish apple flavors coming from them. But what you're looking at for the taste profiles of these teas is some of the malt characteristics of a black tea, the classic black tea flavors, but you're also getting more, sometimes you can get a little bit of a creamier flavor, creamier mouthfeel. And again, to go back to it, that red, cherry, red fruit flavors, more mature fruit flavors that you would get from these red oolongs. Now this one is an interesting tea. And the reason that I chose it here is because it's actually a charcoal roasted tea. So you have the flavors of a red oolong, so sort of that, those sort of, there's a creaminess to it, and the red fruit, sort of a cherry, sweetish flavors to it as well. But then overlaid over top, you have the charcoal roast flavors in there, which brings in a complexity. So what happens with this tea, up front you get some of the charcoal-like flavors. The mid-mouth is kind of thick and creamy and nice. And then the back end, the aftertaste, is sweet, dark cherries sweet, dark fruit, which in this context makes for a very complex and a very beautiful tea. So again, what is a red oolong? A red oolong is a tea that has been oxidized way more than a high mountain oolong, way more than a lightly oxidized oolong, but not quite as much as a black tea. Remember, a black tea, like a dried apple chip, it's a 100% oxidization level. So what is a red oolong? A red oolong is something that's been oxidized between 70, 85%. Oftentimes the liqueur itself is quite red, and you're getting a lot of the red, sort of the black tea flavors, but without the heavy malt, without the strong back end that you would get with a lot of black teas. So there we go. So that's the answer to what is red oolong. If you have any questions about this, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Ask me directly. And if you like these videos, like, subscribe. It always helps if you buy some tea on the website. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.